Hey everybody, my name's Aaron. Thanks again for joining the channel on another E-Waste Wednesday, or as I like to refer to it, ew.
Ew! Get off of me! Ugh, as if!
So this is a special E-Waste Wednesday, and I say that because of what's in front of you here today. So this is an IBM 5151 monochrome monitor. And if you were alive and working in an office back between let's say 1982 and 1988, I would say, then you are very, very familiar with this monitor, because this is the original monitor that was sold with the original PC from IBM, the IBM PC 5150. And if you bought a monitor at that time when that came out, you would have bought this monochrome monitor, the IBM 5151. So it's not rare necessarily, but they are failing quite a bit, and you will see these around, and they won't be working because they're just aging out at this point. But I'm hoping that this is a good one. We'll have to take a look. I found it at E-Waste for the grand total price of $15. That's right, $15 at E-Waste. I have been looking for one, and I'm a cheapskate, so I don't want to pay $150 or $200 for one of these that's in good working condition. So I was super excited. I saw this in a pile of other CRTs at the E-Waste place that they already had palletized, to go to their recycler that buys this for scrap. And I said, please, 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 would you let me buy that IBM monitor? Because I could see it a mile away. You know this, if you know this form factor in this monitor, you recognize it right away. I saw the IBM badge, even though it was upside down, and I said, please just let me have that monitor. They were nice enough to give this to me. So I'm super excited, as you can tell, today to find this monitor, and I'm hoping it's working. Now, I have another IBM monitor that goes along with my 5150, which is over there on the shelf, and that is a 5154, which is the EGA version. There was also a 5153 that was the CGA version. So this was the monochrome. Then they came out with the CGA version, and then they came out with the EGA version. And I was lucky enough to find that one and restore it. And if you haven't seen that video, I will link it above, I think is where it goes. I'll link it above so you can go take a look at that video, because I restored that one and I fixed it. And guess what? The 5154 is broken again. I think it blew a transistor, so I'm going to have a little repair video on that one. But anyway, super excited, 5151, piece of history, and I am going to see if this thing is working on today's E-Waste Wednesday. You can see it's pretty cruddy. It's pretty dirty. There's a lot of dust on this thing. And it's got contrast and brightness knobs over here. So pretty simple monitor. The problem with this is, the reason I can't just turn it on and see if it works right away is what's going on in the back, or actually on the bottom here. So, yeah, what they do when they bring these monitors into E-Waste, the people that take in this stuff don't always know what it is. They're not like experts in computers at all, right? They're taking in a box, and someone has told them if it's a CRT, put it in this pile. And also they're told if a CRT comes in, cut off the cables, because it's easier to palletize when those cables aren't hanging out all over the place. So that's what's gone on here, is that they've cut the power cable and they've cut the video hookup cable from this particular monitor, and that's a problem. We can see some stuff on the back though. There's a manufactured sticker here, but it doesn't say when it was manufactured necessarily right there. At least I don't think that's a date code. There's a serial number, some instructions in German, some instructions in English. Caution, do not open this thing up. And what else? There's some little sticky pads here. That's kind of interesting. There's some pots here no, these are screws. These screws are probably for the transformer that's inside. And then there's a caution, warranty void when broken. And I can see that this paper is torn. So that may be because someone has opened this up already and tried to fix it. And I hope that's not the case, because who knows what they did. But anyway, I'm going to have to open this up and at least get the the video signal and the power cord hooked back up to this before we can do anything with it. Okay, so I've already taken out the screws on the bottom, and now there's two kind of hidden screws here at the top. And maybe you can see these little things that pop out here. There's screws there that you have to take out. So if you're ever taking one of these apart and the bottom's kind of coming out and the top is still screwed in, look for these little tabs here, and that'll help you to get these out. They kind of lift out. It's hard to get a screwdriver in this way, but you can kind of pry them out and with a small screwdriver usually, and they are easy to break, so do be careful. And I did not break that one. Oh yeah, I did. I did break it a little bit, and I broke this on my 5154 too. Here, let me show you. I don't know if you can see that. Right there, there's a crack right there. And that's exactly the same thing that happened on my 5154. And what I did was I just reinforced it with a little super glue and a little bit of some other glue, some UV sensitive glue that I like to use. And it did, I mean, so far so good, but this is such a small piece and it gets brittle with age. And this plastic tab, you have to kind of pry it back to get it off, and it just breaks, unfortunately. But it's still there. I can reinforce this and fix it, no problem. And these screws did not have the nice crack that you get when, there's a pristine screw that hasn't been unscrewed for a while. Usually when you go to unscrew it, it'll give you a little crack, and these did not have that. So I'm guessing there might be, that might be because someone's been in here before, unfortunately. Okay, I should be able to lift this back up and then pull the back off. Let me set it like this. Might be easier. There we go. There we go. We're in like Flynn. I don't know why Flynn was in, but we are. So just taking a quick first glance here, this is super clean. I mean, there is some dust that's come in through the vents in the top of the monitor case. But otherwise, this is super clean, and it's so much simpler than the 5154 that has to do all that signal processing for the various colors. I mean, this is like about as simple as it gets. I'm going to do a quick visual inspection. So far, everything looks good. Here's that big transformer. There's a big power transistor down here that could be bad. There's a lot of electrolytic capacitors in here we'll have to take a look at. So I want to take a close inspection, and then if I don't see anything, we can hook up new cables, plug it in, and try it out. And now it's time to thank the sponsor of this episode, PCBWay. PCBWay offers inexpensive PCB manufacturing and a whole lot more. Need assembly services? No problem. They can do front side, back side, through-hole components, you name it. They also offer 3D printing, CNC milling, and more. So check out PCBWay for your next project, and I thank them for their support of the Retro Hack Shack. And this is a perfect time to warn people, if you made it this far into the video, never ever work on these if you don't know what you're doing. There's some serious warnings inside. I always forget to mention this. Well, I don't always forget to mention it. I'm always afraid I'm going to forget to mention it, because I know there's a lot of people out there that are maybe new to electronics, maybe never worked on a CRT. They see this video and they think, oh, I can go fix one of those monitors. Well, just treat this with a high degree of caution. I mean, if you look at this sticker right here, right? 13,200 volts, 13.2 kilovolts could be stored in this monitor right here. If you touch the wrong thing, that's going to go through your body. Probably won't kill you, although it could. And it's going to give you a really nasty shock, and you just don't want to take any chances with this stuff. What I'm doing now is I'm just taking this board off so that I can get a better look at it. And that requires me to, I think I'm going to take a couple pictures of these connections, but I want to take these connectors off, and I need to take the anode cap off. I'm sure this hasn't been juiced up in a while, but that needs to come off as well. Let's go ahead and take that off now. There we go. I'm going to take a picture of all of these connectors with my phone. Actually, I can just do it with the camera, just to make sure that I remember where they all go. So here's a close-up look at the analog board, I guess you might call it. I'm not sure. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. But this is handling the signaling and stuff, and has the high voltage on it for the CRT. You can see the flyback transformer down here, and the controls up here, and you can see all the electrolytic caps. And I've got to say, so far, at least to the naked eye, the electrolytic caps look pretty good. I'm seeing some corrosion up here. Don't know if you can see that, but I think that's hot snot or something, but I'm definitely going to be taking a look at that. That looks questionable, especially if it's conductive. And then there's this over here. Not sure what that is right there. There's some white stuff. I'm going to take a look at that. But otherwise, this looks like a super clean board. Everything's laid out nicely. You can see they've got the vertical section laid out. They've got the video signal here, it looks like, laid out. The horizontal section is labeled over here. So everything to the naked eye looks pretty good, except for those areas I pointed out. Okay, well, IBM was nice enough to put this little plastic shield here. And they've got all of this, like, glue and stuff on here. It's kind of a pain, but it does come off. And I don't think it's the kind that goes conductive and could cause problems. But anyway, they were kind enough to actually, where the mains come in here, which is right here, they were nice enough to put this little plastic box over this, because this is a linear transformer. And the, you know, you got 120 volts there, and it would be pretty easy to shock yourself if you were working on this and, you know, whatever. So there is a fuse back here. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there. I do want to test that. And we want to hear the multimeter chime out that this is actually still connected from one side to the other across the fuse, and it is. Whoops. There we go. Yeah, so this fuse is good. It hasn't been blown. If it had been blown, then measuring from one side of the fuse to the other wouldn't have registered anything, because it would have been blown open. But in this case, it's still perfectly fine. So now what I have to do is desolder these mains connections here and solder on a new cable. Well, this may seem a bit like a mess right now, but I've got the mains power cord off, which I'll be replacing. So you can set that to the side, and I'll come back to this in a minute. But what I do, since I'm such a cheapskate, is I save cables. And I've been saving some beige cables to go with a beige monitor, knowing that the e-waste people cut those cables off. So I've got a beige, even though the original cables were apparently black, I want to go with beige. So I've got a beige power cable, and I'll be cutting one end off of that and using the rest as the power cable. And I've got a beige 9-pin D-sub connector as well. And that's already had one side cut off, so I've got the rest of it to use as the video cable here. The only problem is right now is that this cable is really filthy and sticky, so I'm going to use some Windex and just clean this cable down really good. Now for this cable, what I'm going to do, because I don't necessarily have the right pins to go in these sockets, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this right about here, and then I will couple the correct cables from the other cable. I'll couple those on, I'll solder them and put some heat shrink on, just like they did with the original one. They just used heat shrink, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'll cut these, use heat shrink, and I'll have to tone everything out, all of these different connections, to make sure that I've got them, the correct cables going to the correct pin on the 9-pin D-sub connector. And there are a couple of ICs on this board, by the way. And unless my eyes deceive me, that says 1984, 16th week. And there's one more down here. I think that says 1984, 23rd week. So yeah, this monitor was made in 1984, or at least sometime after that point, because that's the date codes on these ICs. Okay, well, I've already got the new power cord hooked up, so that's ready to go. And now I'm working on the signal wires that need to come in through the DB9. And so it's a little bit of a game. If you like puzzles, you might like this kind of stuff. But basically, there are 6 wires, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 wires that need to be passed through from the computer to the monitor in order for it to work, right? 2 of them are ground, and that's 1 and 2. And I've got my little pin out here. This is switched around because this is looking from the PC side. So when you look from the cable side, you gotta swap this around, but that doesn't matter in this case, and I'll tell you why. But anyway, I have the pin out here, and so pins 1 and 2 need to go to ground. This one says not connected, but here in the diagram, 2 goes to ground. And then you've got 4 other wires on 6, 7, 8, and 9. This I copied out of the schematic, the IBM schematic over here, and they were nice enough to actually label these connections, not just with some random number like they could have, like a lot of people do, but they actually labeled these connections with the pin that corresponds to the pin on the DB9 connector itself. So pin 9 on this connector, whoops, you can't see it over here. Pin 9 on this connector is actually labeled as pin 9, and it says vert right here on the schematic. And sure enough, if we go over and look at the pinout over here, 9 is V sync or vertical sync. So you have vertical sync, horizontal, video signal. For some reason, they call this dual, which is pin 6 over here, which is intensity. So I labeled that intensity. Anyway, this whole thing is kind of like a little puzzle. And now that I know that these pins actually correspond to the actual pin numbers on the DB9, that makes things a little bit easier. So what I did was I went and looked and said, okay, for this pin 7 here, that's connected to resistor 201, for example, here. And then I went over to my board here and I found where resistor 201 connected to on these 2 pins, which are where the wires were actually connecting originally. And then I made this little handy dandy diagram so I could say, oh, pin, where were we talking about? I don't remember. Here we go. We were talking about this one. So pin resistor 201 is connected to, and then I could go up here and I could say, oh, that's connected to this pin, which is labeled A3 on the actual circuit board. So that must be connected to pin 7 on the DB9 cable. And that color of the cable that was connected there originally, that's why I saved these connectors, was orange. So, okay, I know that this one is orange. This one that needs to be connected to 7 is orange. Then what I did was I went through and I traced, I traced all the wires here that are coming through the DB9 and figured out which colors go to which pins on here. So now I know, for example, with this one, that the purple wire here on the DB9 needs to be connected to the orange wire here, and that will go through to where it needs to go on the motherboard. So it's kind of like I don't know, there are these puzzle games that you can play like in newspapers and stuff, and this kind of reminds me of that. It's not too hard to figure out. It just takes some time, and you need to label things in a way that makes sense to you. In this case, it made sense for me to just put these colors here close to these pins, and then put the colors that go from the DB9 cable on the outsides here. So I know now I can just go through and connect the purple wire to the orange wire, put some heat shrink on it, and when all those are done, I can plug it in and test it out. And here's the finished product. You can see all of the shrink wrap on the wires. So hopefully I didn't do anything wrong. This might work, or hopefully it'll work. We'll see. All right, well, I'm ready to try this out. And if you remember, let's see, where's the power cord here? So if you remember on the original PC, or maybe you don't remember, but on the original PC, this power cord wouldn't have plugged into the wall like this. It actually would have had a special socket on here that would have plugged directly into the back of the 5150 itself. But those power supplies had a special socket. This would have been kind of a female version of this, and it would have plugged into the back of the PC, and the PC power supply actually would have run the power for the monitor and the computer together. Now, I didn't want to do that because I may want to use this monitor with other things that don't have that special connector, so I connected just a regular wall type connection, power connector to this. Now, what that means, though, is there's no power switch on the monitor because it's supposed to come on when you flip the switch, the power switch on the computer. So when I plug this into the outlet, the monitor will be powered on. It's in an always-on state because it's assuming that it's connected to a power supply on the computer that has a mechanical switch on it. So I'm going to go plug this in to a power strip. And so you'll see, probably maybe even better than me, whether this thing is doing anything, because I got to go to the back to plug it in. But let's just go ahead and try it and see what happens. I'm not connected to any computer right now. I just want to plug it in and make sure there's no shorts, make sure there's no smoke, etc., etc. So let's go ahead and give it a try. Keep your fingers crossed. And here we go. Okay, it's got power. I have the brightness and the contrast all the way down. Let's go ahead and turn those up and see. Okay, nothing there. That might not necessarily be a bad thing. So I'm going to leave these set to just about the middle. And I'm going to unplug it, and then I'm going to get a computer out and hook it up and see if we actually have a signal or not. A lot of times the monochrome monitors, you won't necessarily see anything. Sometimes you'll see a raster. Sometimes you won't see anything until you plug them in to the signal source. So that's what I'm going to do right now. Okay, I've turned the lights off. That's why it's a little dim here, but I just wanted to see, it might help us see what's going on the screen in case the picture's dim. But I do have this connected. It's powered on. This is powered on. And I'm going to go ahead and turn on my PC clone back here and see that everything's hooked up. Let's just see if we get any picture at all. We should be getting something up here. Oh, look at that. We've got something. Yeah, so at this point we definitely should be seeing something here. So, right now I think the video card's configured for EGA, but I don't think that matters. I think it should work. It's just that, of course, it's going to be in green and black here, but let me take a look at some things and see what's going on. All right, so I just had a little bit of an arc as I was messing with the settings, so I want to be careful. I'm going to try to plug this in again, and we'll see if it is still working or not, or if it just breaks down. I may have just blown something. I don't know. Okay, it is on, I think. I'm going to turn on the PC. There should be something on the screen. Let's see. Oh, wait a second. Yes. Look at that. I don't even have to turn up the brightness all the way. I can leave it down because that's so clear. Wow, look at that. Look how nice that looks. I don't know if that's, I don't know how closely that's coming across in the monitor. It looks like it is. But look at that, folks. We have a working 5151 IBM monitor. Look at how clear that is. And this is super dusty too. Okay, I don't want to jinx anything because of that arc. I want to get the back cover back on for both safety's sake and just in case there's something, I don't know, interacting here on my bench. So I'm going to get the back cover on and then we'll take a closer look. Wow, look at that. Look how clear that is. That worked essentially the first time. So, by the way, what I needed to do was I needed to go back to the video card. It's an EGA video card, and I needed to flip the settings to let it know that I connected a 5151 monitor. And that's what got us the correct signal for the monitor to understand what was going on. And that's where we are right now. Doesn't that look great? So cool. All right, I'm going to get the back on and then we'll take one last look at this monitor, but I am psyched. Okay, it's all back together and the only thing left to do really is give it a good clean. It's a little Windex. I think that'll clean it right up. Oh yeah, it's already looking a lot better. Ooh, look at that. Wow. And as I was cleaning this, you can see how all of that dirt and grime made the case look several shades of gray darker. And after I cleaned it, it really looked like new. Well, folks, there you have it all cleaned up and ready to go. I've left the lights out so you can enjoy the wonders of the green glowing text on this IBM 5150. I pulled out my Windex, or in this case, glass cleaner, and I did give it a good clean. So yeah, this is looking basically brand spanking new. I even cleaned all the dials. Everything's looking great. So I think this is a winner chicken dinner. I'm super excited to finally have a 5151 monitor for the original IBM. And I'm not sure if I'm going to keep it, or I also have a friend that is looking for one of these. So I may give this to him for a really good price because I got a good deal on it. And so I may pass that along to him as well. But yeah, this is looking, you know, this could be 1986 right now. All over again, just working on some spreadsheets and who knows what else on your monochrome IBM 5151 monitor. You can probably tell in my voice that I'm super excited about this. So hope you enjoyed this e-waste Wednesday. If you did, be sure to give the video a like and subscribe. I'm trying to get up to 10,000 subscribers this year. So if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. And if you really like what I do, go ahead and sign up as a patron, and you can donate really any amount you want, from $1 up to sky's the limit. But if you donate $2 or more, you get a bunch of extras. You get ad-free content, name in the credits, after episode commentary. So I'll be leaving some commentary as soon as this video is over, but only patrons will be able to see that at the $2 level or up. So yeah, I think that'll about wrap it up. Until next time, thanks for watching. Patrons receive ad-free and early access to content after the episode commentary, and of course, your name in the credits. If you liked that episode, here's a few more you might enjoy, and I thank you for your support.
End of line.